promoting dialogue.
It's midday in Dakar, 1 o'clock in Praia. Good afternoon and many thanks for staying tuned to West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting on 94.9 FM and worldwide on wadr.org. Welcome to Newslink. Here are the top stories. Youth of PPACI in Côte d'Ivoire demonstrates to get Laurent Gbagbo released on electoral register.
The execution of the name of President Laurent Gbagbo is a non-negotiable issue.
Nigeria Labour Congress calls for strike over minimum wage delays. In a breaking news, Supreme Court of Ghana reverses Speaker Bagmin's ruling on vacant seats.
The only thing anybody has to do is to respect the constitution. That's the mark of a civilized democratic order. There leaves no room for any argument whatsoever. And the majority decision, very big majority, clear majority, 5-2.
And Liberian citizens express confidence over ECOWAS' role in political impasse. Please stay tuned for details of these stories and more.
Here is a more edit with Newslink.
Many thanks for joining us and welcome to our broadcast. Let's begin with the breaking news from Ghana, where the Supreme Court in a majority decision has ruled that Speaker Alban Bagmin's declaration of 4 parliamentary seats as vacant is unconstitutional. The 5-2 decision, delivered at a brief court sitting on Tuesday, has reversed the decision of the Speaker, which declared that the 4 seats after they filed to contest as independent candidates. Chief Justice Gertrude Tokono, presiding over the ruling, stated that the reasons behind the court verdict would be disclosed in full on Wednesday. This decision effectively means that the 4 MPs in question have legally retained their seats. The MPs in question are Andrew Amokwa Asiama of Fofema in Ashanti region, Kojo Ashanti NNPP MP for Suhum in the Eastern region, NP Cynthia Morrison of Agona West constituency, and the NDC's Peter Yo Kwabe Aka of Amefi Central constituency in the Western region. Addressing the media after the judgment, Ghana's Attorney General and Minister of Justice Godfred Yeboah Dam said the decision of the Supreme Court must be respected.
The only thing anybody has to do is to respect the constitution. That's the mark of a civilized democratic order. There leaves no room for any argument whatsoever. And the majority decision, very big majority, clear majority, 5-2. It's not as if it was a narrow majority, 3-4 or 4-3, that anyone can say, well, there is some room for kind of review or anything at all. But the point I'm making is that whenever the court speaks, it's such a clear and emphatic order. Even if it's a very narrow majority, that's the decision of the court. And that decision must be respected. And I'm saying that it results in a degeneration of our society and a destruction of our democratic order for anybody at all to refuse to comply with orders of the Supreme Court. And I think that's non-negotiable. It's something that we must all respect. I have heard some statements by certain political actors to the effect that the case ought to be withdrawn and that there ought to be negotiation and all that. I'm quite surprised because indeed, firstly, I did not hear such expression of a willingness to negotiate a law or maybe such instruction to the Speaker or direct suggestion to the Speaker for negotiation and law when the Speaker started embarking on this act. And I think that for me it's very important that the Supreme Court ruled upon this matter because it is something that had been occurring in this country. A tendency for it to occur really was there. A tendency for it to occur again was there.
Ghana's Attorney General and Minister of Justice Godfred Yeboah Dam. In neighboring Côte d'Ivoire, there are reports of demonstrations for the re-registration of former President Laurent Gbagbo on the electoral list. The youth of the PPACI, the political party of the former Ivorian leader, held a meeting in Port Boat to, they say, inform national opinion on the problem surrounding the re-registration of Gbagbo on the electoral list. They also warned that the situation could taint the smooth holding of peaceful elections in the future. The electoral list revision operation will continue until November 17. More explanation in Abidjan from my correspondent Alban Ade and voiced by Christopher Teacher.
For the party of the former President Laurent Gbagbo, the presidential election in less than a year would not be held without him, as he has been designated the natural candidate of the political party. The PPACI is continuing its mobilization to have its leader re-registered on the electoral list. Captain Ankone is the chairman of the party's strategic and political council.
The
The execution of the name of President Laurent Gbagbo is a non-negotiable issue. We made a decision marked by the voices of the citizens. I can make all the decisions from here, but if you do not apply them, it means we are no longer in a state of law. It means that in reality, as citizens, we recognize a truth that is inherent in law. The idea of not applying these conditions means we have left the republic and are heading towards a new era. The PPACI, however, has not closed the door to political dialogue, which will lead to the re-registration of Laurent Gbagbo on the electoral list. A first meeting had already been held between the former president Laurent Gbagbo and his successor Alassane Ouattara. Here is Koni Katinan once again. The youth of Laurent Gbagbo's party announced its meeting in Port-Bouet as the first in series in several other communes of the economic capital, Abidjan.
That was Alvin Nade's report, voiced by Christopher Ticho. In a related development, the Nigeria Labour Congress NLC has directed state branches in non-compliant regions to initiate a strike from December 1, 2024, in response to delays in implementing the new 70,000 naira minimum wage. Following a National Executive Council meeting on Sunday, the NLC expressed frustration over the refusal of some state governments to implement the 2024 National Minimum Wage Act, calling the delays a betrayal amid worsening economic situations. Osman Baran Abuja reports.
In a statement signed by NLC President Joe Ajero, the union announced the formation of a National Minimum Wage Implementation Committee to monitor progress, launch awareness campaigns, and support workers in pushing for their rights. The NLC also raised concerns over perceived violations of democratic norms, particularly highlighting a court order in Rivers State aimed at freezing federally allocated funds, which it said risks crippling the state's ability to meet its obligations to workers. Additionally, the NLC criticized what it described as the troubling trend of arbitrary arrests and detentions, urging respect for democratic freedoms and worker rights across the country. Reacting to these developments is a former deputy president of the NLC, Amechi Asugoni.
Most governors don't see salary of workers as a priority, yet on daily basis they approve certain money for certain purposes, neglecting this very portion of their obligation as employers. Is also a very serious attempt. Negation to workers' effort to work is a threat to workers themselves, and we must do everything within the law to call them to order.
Mayor Akinpelu and Iskoyonde Wadr are public affairs analysts.
I agree with the communique that any state that doesn't pay the 70,000 minimum wage agreed that workers should go on strike. I support that totally because it will be irresponsible of any state to deny workers 17,000 naira that was agreed, even when they know that 70,000 naira cannot really solve problem.
I am of the school of thought that the issue of minimum wage should be left to the states. But be that as it may be, a valid agreement, as we say in law, is a contract. It's a contract that is signed, sealed, and delivered. That's what I was taught as a law student. What it means is that whatever agreement has been reached, as far as you are a party to that agreement, you must implement it. Right. For any governor to come now and say he cannot pay, or is not ready to pay, or is not paying, then that is unacceptable.
Although it is difficult to say at this time how many states have started implementing the new national minimum wage out of the 36 states, a handful of the governors have, however, formed implementation committees and have also gone ahead to announce figures, in some cases higher than the 70,000 naira national minimum wage. For Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio, Usman Omar reporting from Abuja.
More stories coming up on West Africa Democracy Radio. Newslink continues.
To Guinea now, where a close friend of former Guinean President Alpha Condé, Ibrahim Khalif Sharif, who was arrested by the Liberian authorities in September, has been extradited to Guinea. Khalif Sharif is accused of an attempted coup d'etat in collaboration with Alpha Condé. According to Guinean authorities, he was responsible for recruiting mercenaries to destabilize a military power in place for 3 years. A new arrest of a member of the RPG, the former ruling party, denounced by the political party. Here's Chairman Alpha Ibrahim Abadi's report in Conakry and voiced by Augustine Colley.
According to the Liberian press, Ibrahim Khalif Sharif, arrested last September in Monrovia, was extradited to his country, Guinea, last week. He is now in the hands of the Guinean authorities, who will hear him in the case of the attempted coup d'etat in collaboration with former President Alpha Condé, of which he is accused. In the Rimbo RPG, the former ruling party to which he belongs, They denounce yet another arrest of a party member and talk about a non-event. Karamo Nabe is a member of the party's executive board.
For us, it is a non-event. Everyone now understands the ambitions of the CNR's measures. These are things we are accustomed to and have denounced for a long time. Peaceful citizens do not just disappear like that by chance. It is because these people are inconvenient for the CNRR. It is truly unfortunate.
At the RPG Ascensil, there is now fear that this affair will be used to dissolve the political party already in the sights of the Ministry of Territorial Administration.
We are in a context where legitimacy and legality replace the law to control political parties as they see it fit. Many of us have been aware of this for years. We know that we are impartial, at least for now, and we are just waiting for the day when the CNR will be held accountable for its actions. It is truly a different situation.
When the authorities revealed this attempted coup d'etat last September, the government promised to arrest all those involved. The Minister Secretary General of the Presidency, General Amara Kamara, had indicated that the Guinean state would use all means at its disposal in this regard.
Our Conakry correspondent, Cherno Afai Ibrahim Balde, filed that report, and it was voiced by Augustine Coley. In Niger, the authorities of the Niamey region have issued a decree to create a morality squad. The creation of this squad stems from bitterness in the city of Niamey, which is increasingly confronted with the excesses of young minors and prostitution, which are visible on public roads. Murtala Zuberi Niamey completes the story and voiced by Chatiso.
The decree issued by the governor of the Niamey region last October establishing a morals brigade also aims to ensure respect for social values and prevent behaviors contrary to decency in public spaces. Here is Sani Yaya Janjuna, a sociologist, sharing his thoughts on this.
On ne peut en réalité que soutenir ce...
In reality, we can only support this commendable gesture. It is also something we must endorse, understanding that it is not just about authorities building physical infrastructure, but also addressing issues of inappropriate behavior. When authorities now take an interest in matters of conduct, it indicates a desire to rectify the neglect.
Rééduquer le Nigérien.
For Aiza Garba, head of the NGO Wadr, which defends the rights of women and young girls, the new Morality Brigade will not be able to resolve the issue of moral depravity in the capital Niamey on its own. She calls for more concerned actions.
C'est une joie, mais ça reste encore à faire parce que de la manière...
This is a joy for us, but there is still much to be done. The way it is proposed to be done requires thorough study. We have worked in this direction, conducted studies, and have with us judges, juvenile judges, colleagues, psychologists, and many others who contribute in this regard, including the brigades.
Les brigades à eux seuls ne suffisent pas.
Other civil society actors fear excesses and call for real supervision of the capital's new Morality Brigade. In the event of a flagrant offense, the Morality Squad officer can arrest the perpetrators and bring them before a judicial police officer. The operating budget of this new unit will be covered by the Governorate of Niamey with potential support from national and international partners.
That was Murtala Zuberi's report and voiced by Eche Atiso. You're listening to Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio 94.9 FM Dakar and online wadr.org. Here is a reminder of our top stories. Youth of PPACI in Côte d'Ivoire demonstrate to get Laurent Gbagbo released on electoral register. Nigeria Labour Congress calls for strike over minimum wage delays. Supreme Court of Ghana reverses Speaker Bagman's ruling on vacant seats. And still ahead in the news, Liberian citizens express confidence over ECOWAS' role in political impasse. We do have the press review, guest interview, and sports news. Please stay with us.
West Africa Democracy Radio. It's you speaking.
Don't forget, you can listen to us live on wadr.org and full live streaming on Facebook and YouTube. Let's go to the Gambia now, where the General Legal Council on Tuesday admitted 82 new lawyers to the bar, comprising 37 Ghanaians, 4 Cameroonians, and 41 Gambians. The event was attended by legal professionals, government officials, and family members of the newly called lawyers. Sankuli Janko Banjo reports.
The 82 students had successfully completed their legal studies and training at the Gambia Law School, fulfilling all requirements for their admission to the legal profession. In his address, the Chief Justice of the Gambia, Hassan B. Jallow, congratulated the new lawyers, urging them to uphold the principles of justice, integrity, and professionalism in their practice.
For all intents and purposes, you should consider yourselves as bound, just as other legal practitioners, henceforth, with the code of conduct for lawyers, for legal practitioners, which requires certain levels of competence, levels of integrity and honesty and devotion to respect for justice and the rule of law.
The ceremony also underscored the regional cooperation in legal education, with students from various African countries joining their Gambian counterparts in pursuing a legal career in the Gambia. Meanwhile, the Attorney General and Minister of Justice, while urging the new lawyers to be honest in their dealings, urged them to be reminded that they will face difficult challenges in their line of work.
As Attorney General and Minister of Justice, I have seen firsthand the immense challenges and profound rewards that come with the legal profession. The path ahead will not always be easy. There will be times when you will be faced with difficult decisions, challenging clients, and situations that test your resolves. But know this, the very essence of being a lawyer is about serving the public good. It is about ensuring that justice is not a mere abstraction, but a tangible reality for all who seek it.
The new lawyers include a total of 42 females and 40 males. Since its inception in 2013, the Gambia General Legal Council has called over 700 students to the bar as it continues to contribute meaningfully to the country's legal system. For Newslink in West Africa Democracy Radio, I am Sankule Janko reporting from Banjul.
In Liberia, a 5-member parliamentary mediation mission of the ECOWAS Parliament, led by Hajia Memunata Ibrahim, Speaker of the ECOWAS Parliament, is in the country on a week-long working visit to seek parliamentary resolution through dialogue with all stakeholders in the political impasse at the House of Representatives. Here is Grace Joshua Monrovia with the rest of the story.
The mission will seek to gather the root cause of the gridlock and the implications on the stability of the state, as well as engage with key stakeholders in finding a peaceful resolution that strengthens the democratic credentials of Liberia. The Secretary General of the main opposition, the Congress for Democratic Change, CDC, Jefferson Kochi, named the ruling Unity Party as the lead force behind Speakers of Parliament J. Fanati Kofa removal, adding that the CDC has always been in the interest of the Liberian people. He added that ECOWAS hope it can resolve the crisis in order to bring peace and stability to Liberia.
We want to welcome the fact that ECOWAS is always seen to be mitigating whenever there is a perceived or when there is an imminent chaos in our country. But unfortunately for us, when you have people in power who are grossly insensitive to international protocol and also national protocol, it becomes difficult to anticipate success.
Unity Party Chairman Luther Tape said his party also look forward to working with ECOWAS in mitigating the crisis currently unfolding at the House of Representatives. He called on the lawmakers to value the Constitution of Liberia by working in the interest of the Liberian people.
Well, let me first of all thank the ECOWAS for their proactive step in trying to mitigate between the two different factions in our lower house. It is my hope, and I join the Liberian people, that this political stalemate at the lower house will be resolved amicably. And I'm only wishing them well, because the Liberian people work needs to be done.
At the same time, citizens are calling on lawmakers to focus on the work they entrusted them with and not to focus on division that will undermine the peace and development of the country. For West Africa Democracy Radio, I'm Grace Joshua in Monrovia.
This is the Newspaper Review. Stay abreast and find out what the top stories are in your country.
This is the Newspaper Review.
The Newspaper Review.
Well, we're going to remain in Monrovia a little longer as we join Grace Joshua for the Newspaper Review.
For today's edition of the Press Review, papers we are following are the Heritage Newspaper, the Front Page Africa Newspaper, the Daily Observer Newspaper, and the Analyst Newspaper. On the front page of the Analyst newspaper, this story says, Stains lauds ECOWAS for intervening in hostile Lemo. Call on factions to embrace delegation intent to end dialogue. ECOWAS moved to break dialogue in host quarry. Tinubu sent ECOWAS parliament delegation to Monrovia. A 5-member parliamentary mitigation mission of the ECOWAS parliament led by Haja Ibrahima, Speaker of the ECOWAS Parliament, is in Liberia on a week-long working visit to seek parliamentary resolution through dialogue with all stakeholders in political impasses at the House of Representatives. We now bring you this story. My early moving react to U.S. election results says idea of women president isn't destined dream. We now move to the Daily Observer newspaper. On the front page of the Daily Observer newspaper, JFK CEO commit to building strong, valuable health sector. Arrest of Guinean coup plotters sparked tension as former Associate Justice Kabina Janet called for his immediate release, threatening a major protest. LMA tussle over Omega Market Lane. That is it for the Daily Observer newspaper. We now move to the front page African newspaper. On the front page of the front page African newspaper, this story says, we want justice. We now move to the Heritage newspaper. On the front page of the Heritage newspaper, this story says, LIMA commissioners poses research innovation. We now move to the back page of the Heritage newspaper. President Bouaka honor Al-Hajjaj Sharif legacy at 40-day sacrifice. That is how we come to the end of today's edition of the Press Review. I'm Grace Joshua, reporting from Monrovia.
Politics, analysis on major news, social matters, and all. This is A Guest.
Well, in this segment of our guest interview, we will be talking to Anderson Miamen, the Executive Director of the Center for Transparency and Accountability in Liberia, Senegal. It speaks on the effects of the ongoing impasse of the Liberian House of Representatives on the smooth running of the legislature, including the submission of the 2025 national budget. He also reflects on the intervention by the ECOWAS Parliament.
It's very unfortunate that this is happening in as much as the House of Representatives in this instant case can elect and remove their leaders based on cost. That this process has been lingering for almost 3 weeks now, going to 3 weeks turning. It has implications for the proper functioning of the government. Like you said, we're in a period whereby the executive is supposed to submit the budget to Parliament for review as we move towards the new fiscal year. And this development does not help the process in terms of having a full sitting of the legislature to review the budget. So citizens are affected, especially so that the budget cannot be reviewed and concluded upon for the Liberian people to have the resources required in a budget to undertake different interventions that will positively impact their lives.
Another aspect is the fact that ECOWAS is sending a 5-member delegation team to mediate the ongoing stalemate. What do you make of ECOWAS intervention into this process?
I think it's a welcoming development. We shouldn't be here in the first place. That's the first thing to say. We should be responsible enough to conduct ourselves properly, our leaders to lead by example and ensure that the decisions to make are in the best interest of the public, those they represent. So that's what it is. ECOWAS coming in to mediate is welcoming, but like I said, we shouldn't be here in the first place. We're hoping that wherever engagements that they are coming to have will yield the desired results so that the stalemate is addressed. The bottlenecks that are leading to the issues amongst the lawmakers are addressed for them to begin work fully and do the business of the Liberian people. Remember, with what's happening, their salaries are not being stopped. So, like I said, in as much as they have the right under the laws of Liberia and their rules to elect and remove their leaders, but it has to happen based on due process within the confines of relevant Liberian law. And whatever that process is has to be as speedy and timely as possible to ensure that they do the work of the people. But if we start to go 2 to 3 weeks and even approaching a month with this kind of situation, it doesn't really augur well for the government, proper functioning of the government. And it also does not augur well for effective and efficient use of public resources and assets.
Anderson Miamen is the Executive Director of the Center for Transparency and Accountability in Liberia, Senegal. And your sport news with Sankle Janko.
Hello, very warm welcome and thank you for joining us. The Black Stars of Ghana are facing crisis after 8 players have withdrawn from their upcoming Africa Cup of Nations qualifiers against Angola and Niger due to various reasons. Iñaki Williams of Athletic has hamstring injury picked up on November 7 and has since not been able to train. Tariq Lamptey has calf discomfort that got aggravated last week and currently undergoing rehabilitation with his club. Jonas Adjette was on his way to full recovery but had a setback in his last league game on Saturday, November 9, 2024, according to Ghana Football Association official website. Meanwhile, Jerome Opoku chronic back pain got worse during a Super League game against Besiktas on Sunday, November 10. Jerome is currently undergoing rehabilitation with his club. Antoine Semenyo of Bournemouth in the English Premier League has an injury of the patella tendon due to overload of games. The club medical team thought it wise to use the break to refer him to a tendon specialist to prevent worsening of the injury, according to GFA Communications. That's it for sports. It's back to you.
And that's it on this edition of Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting from Dakar, Senegal. Thank you for listening, and many thanks to Musa Fasek and Maodo Ju for the technical support. Do connect with us on all of our social media platforms, X, formerly Twitter, Instagram at WDR News, and Facebook, West Africa Democracy Radio English Service. Do join us Jeju at 1 p.m. for the news in French. I am Imo Edit. Good afternoon.
And many thanks.